I feel like a lot happened in this volume of Berserk, volume 17. Sorry, guys, it took me about 2 or 3 weeks to get this out, but I've been busy doing other things. Not that those things took priority, but I just wanted to do those instead of continuing Berserk. Um, this volume had a lot of character development for certain characters, and then, I thought Farnese was getting character development, but then she just completely ignores the fact that what happened in the first couple chapters of this volume actually happened. She continues to be blinded by her faith, continues to say that couldn't have been reality, that had to be just a dream. The whole thing with Guts kidnapping her as a hostage, they're going out, and then her seeing these denizens of darkness, these spirits that are going after Guts because he's branded. And a fucking horse even tries to mount her because the horse gets possessed by evil and tries to fuck her. And she still, we see later in the volume that she still believes this isn't reality, that this didn't happen. And I'm like, are you for real? Like, this horse mounted you and tried to fuck you, and you sit here and you say, oh, that wasn't reality. It couldn't have been reality. Okay. Whatever, Farnese. But that scene brought something out of Guts that we have not seen in a while. We always see him going crazy. He wants his revenge. He's full of rage. But seeing that scene caused him to remember the scene during the eclipse of Casca being raped by Femto. And he freaks the fuck out. And he goes after this horse, cuts it in half, starts going crazy, and says, thanks to you, I remember these feelings. This is the worst I've ever felt. And even Puck was able to see an image of Casca being raped by the demons, by Femto, and he doesn't really know what that is. But he says, I have never felt rage like this inside of Guts. It's more so than usual. It's unstoppable. It's swirling. And Guts goes berserk on these dudes. It's the name of the volume, name of the series. Then we see the break of, daybreak, and the sun comes up, and he's sitting there, and Farnese is actually thinks it's solemn but beautiful, the scene that she sees, but still, later on, she says this couldn't have happened. And that one dude shows up and rescues Farnese. She freaks out, whatever. She leaves. Fails in capturing Guts, and Gus goes on and does his own thing. Meanwhile, we see that the king of Midland is on his deathbed, and he is plagued, the Black Plague. And we see Laban going to different villages, and that we see the plague is taking people's lives and whatnot. And he actually wonders, why are we using 7/10 of our army to search for a man that maybe doesn't even exist anymore? Meanwhile, we should be rebuilding. What is that look in the king's eyes? It's madness, because he wants his revenge on Griffith. And even him, he sees the Hawk of Light, and apparently there's been cases of this Hawk of Light showing up to people throughout the land. And I'm thinking it's Griffith, and he's trying to spread his influence, because we all know Griffith wants his own kingdom. So maybe he's doing this, going to people, and then he's going to reveal himself later and be like, I am the Hawk of Light. You should follow me. And they're all going to be like, yo, this dude came to me in my dreams, blah, blah, blah. And they're going to follow him, and he's going to have devout followers, and he's going to start his own kingdom. Because who else would the Hawk of Light be? The Hawk of Light even shows himself to Zod, who we see take out 300 soldiers, and he still cannot satisfy his bloodlust, his thirst for battle. And even the Hawk of Light comes to him. So, and cuts off his horn, and he's like, was that real? Like, he wasn't sure. So, a lot of stuff happening in this volume of Berserk. So I covered Farnese, being a stupid bitch and, not realizing what happened truly did happen. She got kicked off of capturing the Black Swordsman, and now she has a new mission, and that is to guide the Inquisitor Mazgus to the Tower of Conviction, which is what it's named, but it's really the St. Albion Church or whatever. And we actually see this dude Mazgus, and he's very, I want to say he's possessed. He's an impostor. I want to say that because he has like this weird plain look. He looks very weird, and then he gets attacked by people that are trying to get revenge on him because he burned down their whole village saying they were heretics. And the guy's talking to him about saying revenge, whatever, and he freaks out and his face gets all veiny and whatnot, and he smacks this dude in the head with the Bible, I guess, with their, their religious scriptures. And at that moment, I'm like, yeah, this dude is definitely an apostle. Look at his face. Unless he just got rage filled, but I really think he's an apostle, especially because he has torturers with him that look very demonic. They look very like they're either demonic or they've been experimented on. The one dude looks like he has two bodies, so they look very strange and very wicked. So I just have a feeling that he is an apostle, and he's using his religious powers, his authority in wrong ways. Like he's taking advantage of it, killing these people, killing them by the wheel. It's just very crazy because we have no time for this. We're just going to kill them by the wheel. We won't even go to a trial, nothing. Craziness. But this all leads into them going to this place because Guts gets visited by his child that's possessed by evil, and it warns him that Casca could be in danger. Very ominously saying different things about go to the Holy Land or something like that, where sheep gather, where blind sheep gather, and they erect a pillar of fire. And these blind sheep are obviously the people that follow the Holy See. They're the mouthpiece of God. And they're going to erect pillars of fire, which in fact is a witch hunt. It's burning of witches, heretics. And I have a feeling Casca is going to get wrapped up in this because we see Casca at that point where they're killing these heretics by the wheel, and she seems to like what she sees, like them hanging up on the wheels. And some girl named Luca says, you don't want to get involved in this, come with me, whatever. So we have a new character introduced that is, I guess, helping Casca. So very interesting stuff. I really do feel like she's going to get involved in some way because the baby, the demonic baby shows himself to Guts and says those ominous words saying danger, danger, and shows Casca's face to Guts, and Guts is like, yo, I need to go. So Guts goes back to the, where Godo is, and Rickert, and I think her name's Liz, and we get to see, obviously, 2 years passed, and Rickert's a lot bigger. Rickert's actually learning to be a blacksmith, and he's taking care of Erica. He's taking care of Godo, because Godo's on his deathbed because he's old. And what I really enjoyed with this scene was Guts showed up, and he blamed Rickert for not searching for Casca because, Liz brought Casca out to pick fruit, and she disappeared. She ran off. And he blames Rickert, and we find out that Rickert was searching for Casca as much as he could during that month, but he had to take care of Godo's responsibilities as well because Godo's on his deathbed. And what I loved about this scene and Guts going back to the village was Guts having that conversation with Godo and saying, I'm going to even just find it in the book because it really hit home with me because I was like, you know what? This dude Godo's absolutely right. Like, what you did is wrong. How can you blame Rickert for abandoning Casca when you've done the same thing, man? And he says, I'm going to just read it verbatim because it hit heavy with me. And I was like, this dude's absolutely right about you, Guts. Like, he has you pinpointed, man. He has you, read you like a book. He says, Blaze, Nix, whatever, you can't stay sane forever fighting that way. Then he says, so you're waging war against things like that. I can't even say for sure if that's the right thing to do, but worse, you do it for retaliation, for revenge. Listen, why not run away from war, from hatred? And Guts is like, what? And he's just listening. It's the ramblings of a dying old man. The thing about hatred, it's the place where people who can't look sorrow in the eye without wavering run off to. Even more than a blood-rusted sword, vengeance is something you soak and sharpen in blood. You sink the blade called your heart deep into blood in order to fix the nix called sorrow. The more you sharpen it, the more it rusts. So you sharpen it again. In the end, all that's left is a pile of rust and scraps. And then, he's, Guts like, you tell me to become a blacksmith, whatever. And he goes, I wouldn't blame you if you wanted to. You've got some huge nicks in your heart. Damn cracks called fear running all through. Basically saying you're running away from what happened. You're using the excuse of revenge to cover up your own sorrow, not wanting to look that sorrow in the eye. And I thought that was very heavy, and it was very much true about Guts. I was like, wow, this dude Godo is on his deathbed, and he's speaking the truth to Guts. He's like, telling him straight up how it is. And then Guts is like, you don't know this feeling, blah, 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 talking about the eclipse, all that, which is understandable. He goes, they were all young. You could have done something if they lived, but still, in an instant, to me, they were irreplaceable. You abandoned those irreplaceable things, Godo says. You went alone. And this is what strikes Guts heavily, because we see later, while he's trying to rest at night, he actually is starting to think about what Godo said to him. And he says, on that day 2 years ago, in your hopeless suffering, you left the last irreplaceable things you had and went away by yourself. If these people, the Band of the Hawk, were so irreplaceable, shouldn't you have learned from your previous mistakes of leaving them when you did and stayed with Rickert and Casca instead of going off to wage a war against these denizens of darkness? And I was like, that's absolutely right. Like, for real. He goes, you were right beside those irreplaceable things, yet you couldn't bear to immerse yourself together in sorrow with them. So instead, you ran away so that your own malice could burn inside you. Am I wrong? Do you have any place criticizing Rickert, who you left here? Do you have any place talking about revenge for your friends when you're the one who went off abandoning that girl here? At the critical moment, you go and choose yourself and rely on fighting. You're like a drawn sword on the battlefield, one with countless nicks soaked in blood and rusting, with a lethal crack in it, a sword that's begun to break. Absolutely beautiful lecture from Godo. It hit home so heavy on Guts. And I'm sorry that I read that word for word, but I just wanted to because it was so... It just had a heavy meaning to it. It was just... it was beautiful. I loved it so much. And it actually causes Guts to wonder to himself if he's right. He goes, I originally abandoned the Band of the Hawk back when he left, and then this all happened with Griffith and the Band of the Hawk. And do I have any right to want revenge for that? Then I abandoned Casca and I abandoned Rickert after saying, you know, I lost irreplaceable things. How could I? Did I just lose something else that's irreplaceable because I abandoned her 2 years ago? Because now he's wondering, will he get Casca back? He wants to go find her, obviously. Then we see what Rickert's been doing in the last 2 years. He's been building graves for his comrades. He's been trying to do this to move on with his life, where Guts has been wallowing in that suffering. So I liked seeing the character development for Rickert. I like the fact that we've seen what he's been doing for 2 years. He's definitely grown as a character. He's grown as an individual. He's matured, and he's obviously stronger than Guts in many ways. Guts might be physically strong. He might be strong enough to take out these apostles, these demons. But in a sense, Guts is weak in the inside. He is running away from his fears. He's running away from his sorrows and waging war against these apostles when he should have stayed with Casca and Rickert and wallowed in the sorrow, in the suffering and sorrow with Casca. And now he possibly could have lost something irreplaceable. So in many ways, Rickert is willfully stronger than Guts in that sense. So I really like that contrast, and I like the fact that Godo's lecture kind of was led into that whole scene where Rickert's showing the graves. Absolutely crazy. And then, like I talked about Guts thinking about, does he have any right to have, feel this rage and this anger? And then he see that beast of darkness that was mentioned in the earlier volume shows up behind him, and it starts talking to him. So I feel like this beast of darkness is going to play a role. I don't know what it's going to play, but it's obviously possessing him in some way. And I don't mean the beast of darkness actually exists and is actually possessing him, but it's almost like Guts is slowly becoming what he hates. I don't know why it feels that way, but it definitely does. Guts obviously gets some new weapons, some new armor, and he heads off to that St. Albion Tower where Mazgus, the Holy Iron Chain Knights, are going, and I have a feeling Casca is going to end up there as well in the next volume. So everything's going to be coming to a head with the Holy Iron Chain Knights again, and now this Inquisitor Mazgus is there, and Casca's probably going to show up there. So I liked the beginning of the volume with Guts escaping, etc., etc. I liked the character development for Farnese, even though she kind of doesn't believe the fact that that really did happen. I liked the development for Guts, him thinking about Godo's lecture and all that. And it really made me look at Guts a different way too, Godo's whole lecture. I was like, wow, that's absolutely right. Like, it put a new perspective for me while looking at the character Guts. I liked seeing Rickert and all that, and then it all leads up to this all possibly happening at the St. Albion Church or whatever, which is obviously dubbed the Tower of Conviction. So That's probably why this is called the Conviction Arc or whatever. So, very interesting stuff. Can't wait to see what happens. Obviously, I feel like Guts is going to have a fight with these torturers. He's going to have a fight with Inquisitor Mazgas, because I have a feeling Casca is going to be branded a witch. I mean, she has the brand of sacrifice. So, it all kind of like feels like it's going to lead on to Casca, especially because the little demon baby came to Guts and actually ominously warned him about danger possibly coming to Casca. So, it kind of all makes sense that this is what's going to lead up to happening. But let me know your thoughts on this volume, guys. I have to say, it's probably one of my favorite volumes so far. I really enjoyed it. Not a lot of action, but I loved the time we spent with the different characters, and Ricker especially, because we haven't seen him in a while. And I love to see how much he changed. And like I said, that speech, that lecture from Godo was absolutely heavy and beautiful, and I really loved it. And like I said, it put a new perspective for me for the character of Guts. So let me know your thoughts on it overall. Let me know your thoughts on my video. Like the video if you feel I deserve it, and subscribe if you want to see more content, more Berserk volume reviews, Vinland Saga volume reviews, anime episode reviews, manga chapter reviews. I do all of it, guys. That's all I really have for you guys. Thank you for all the support. I'll catch you guys in the next video.